The moment your eyes open in the morning, it starts. That voice in your head, it comments on the day ahead, recounts unfinished tasks, and replays conversations from yesterday. It's relentless, isn't it? A constant stream of thoughts, judgments, and narratives that seem to control your mood before you've even set foot out of bed. But here's the thing. Most of us don't realize the profound influence this chatter has on our lives. This inner voice, though invisible and intangible, shapes how we perceive ourselves, others, and the world. At first glance, it seems harmless, just thoughts passing through the mind. But take a closer look. This voice is often a harsh critic, pointing out what's wrong, what's missing, and what could go wrong. It whispers fears and insecurities, building invisible walls around your potential. It's no surprise that psychologists and spiritual teachers alike have likened this constant mental activity to being trapped in a cage, one made not of steel, but of words and emotions. Imagine this. You're trying to enjoy a moment of quiet, perhaps sitting in a park, watching the world go by. But instead of peace, your mind is filled with noise. Did I say the wrong thing in that meeting? What if I don't finish this project on time? Am I falling behind in life? The voice loops endlessly, turning even the calmest moments into sources of stress. The worst part, we rarely stop to question it. It feels so familiar, so integral to our experience, that we mistake it for our true self. This is the cage of inner chatter, a trap we often don't even know we're in. It keeps us stuck in cycles of self-doubt and overthinking, robbing us of the ability to simply be present. It's the reason why moments of peace feel fleeting and why happiness often seems just out of reach. The chatter clouds our minds, much like ripples on the surface of a lake distort its reflection. And just like that lake, our true nature, calm, clear, and expansive, is hidden beneath the noise. But here's the paradox. The more we engage with this voice, the stronger it becomes. Every time we replay an argument, imagine a worst-case scenario, or critique ourselves, we reinforce its hold on us. We feed the very thing that imprisons us. Yet, despite its constant presence, this voice isn't inherently who we are. It's a habit of the mind, a pattern that can be observed, questioned, and ultimately released. Take a moment to reflect on this. When you hear the voice in your head, who is doing the listening? There's a part of you, a quiet, observing presence that exists beyond the chatter. This awareness is the key to freedom. It's the first crack in the walls of the cage, a glimpse of the vast openness that lies on the other side. When you stop identifying with the voice, even briefly, the shift begins. Have you ever stopped to think about the voice in your head? Is it really helping you, or is it doing more harm than good? The nature of this voice can be tricky. It often feels like a friend, but in reality, it can act more like a foe. Let's explore why. This voice didn't appear out of nowhere. It's something that develops as we grow, shaped by life experiences, fears, and the need to make sense of the world. In many ways, it starts as a helpful tool, guiding us, protecting us, and helping us navigate life's challenges. But over time, this helpful guide becomes overactive. It doesn't just point out potential dangers. It begins to criticize, compare, and overanalyze every moment of your life. Think about how it works. You make a mistake, and instead of learning from it and moving on, the voice won't let it go. Why did you say that? Everyone must think you're foolish, it says. Or maybe you're looking at someone else's life on social media and the voice chimes in, they're so much happier than you. Why can't you have what they have? What started as a survival mechanism has become a constant critic, always pointing out what's wrong or what could go wrong. Imagine the voice as a person sitting next to you, talking all day, They remind you of every mistake, warn you of everything that could go wrong, and compare you to others constantly. Does that sound like a friend, or more like an overly critical companion you can't escape? This is the dual nature of the voice. It seems like it's on your side, but it often creates more harm than good. What makes this voice so powerful is that it doesn't feel separate from you. It feels like you. When it says, "I'm not good enough," it feels like a fundamental truth about who you are. But here's something important to understand. The voice in your head is not you. It's just a collection of thoughts, patterns, and habits formed by years of experiences and influences. Let me ask you this. If the voice were truly you, then who is the one hearing it? There's a part of you, the quiet observer, that notices these thoughts. That part of you isn't critical, isn't judgmental, and isn't caught up in the endless chatter. It's simply present, watching. This idea isn't new. Many spiritual traditions speak about the separation between the voice and your true self. In Hinduism, this observing presence is called the Atman, the eternal self. In mindfulness practices, it's known as awareness, the ability to see thoughts come and go without being swept away by them. Even modern psychology emphasizes the importance of creating distance between your thoughts and your identity. So, is the voice in your head your friend or your foe? The answer depends on how much power you give it. When you believe every thought it offers, it acts like a foe, keeping you stuck in fear and self-doubt. But when you learn to observe the voice without attaching to it, it loses its grip. It becomes just noise in the background, a tool you can choose to use, rather than something that controls you. The first step to freedom is understanding this distinction. The voice in your head isn't an enemy to fight or silence. Instead, it's a habit to recognize and observe. Once you see it for what it is, a stream of conditioned thoughts, not your true self, you can begin to let go. The journey to quieting this voice and finding your true self begins with awareness, something we'll explore more deeply in the chapters to come. There's a powerful moment that can change everything. The realization that you are not the voice in your head. It may seem strange at first. After all, the voice feels so familiar, so constant, that it's hard to imagine it isn't who you are. But when you truly stop and observe it, something remarkable happens. You begin to see it for what it is. Just thoughts, not your true self. Think about it. If you're hearing the voice, who is the one listening? There's a quiet presence within you, something deeper than words, that watches and notices the thoughts. That presence doesn't judge or criticize. It's simply there, aware of the chatter without getting lost in it. This realization can feel like stepping out of a storm and into a calm, clear sky. For many people, this moment of clarity feels like waking up from a dream. You've been so used to identifying with the voice, believing everything it says, whether good or bad, that you never questioned it. But when you do, you see the truth. The voice isn't you. It's a mental habit, a constant commentator that's been given too much control. This shift in perspective can feel liberating but also unsettling. If you're not the voice, then who are you? This is a question spiritual traditions have been exploring for centuries. Hindu philosophy refers to this inner observer as the Atman, the eternal self. In Taoism, it's seen as the natural flow of life, the Tao, that exists beyond thought. Even modern psychology encourages this awareness, calling it the observing self. The beauty of this realization is that it doesn't require you to silence the voice or fight against it. Instead, it's about recognizing that the voice will always be there, but it doesn't have to define you. The more you observe it without attachment, the quieter it becomes. It's like standing on the shore and watching waves crash. The waves are still there, but you're no longer swept away by them. When you embrace this truth, you open the door to a new way of living. You begin to understand that your true self, the observer, the awareness, exists beyond the endless chatter. It's steady, peaceful, and always present, waiting for you to notice. This is the moment the shift begins. You're no longer trapped by the voice in your head. You've stepped into a space of freedom where you can simply be. The voice in your head isn't just distracting, it comes with a significant cost. Every thought, every internal debate, every replay of a past mistake quietly drains your energy and focus. Over time, this constant inner noise doesn't just disrupt your peace. It creates a ripple effect that impacts your mental, emotional, and physical well-being in ways you might not even notice. Let's take a closer look at how this happens. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. The situation itself is neutral. It's just cars moving slowly. But the voice in your head doesn't see it that way. "Why does this always happen to me?" it grumbles. "I'm wasting so much time. This day is already ruined." The voice spirals, turning an otherwise simple inconvenience into a source of frustration and tension. These stories may feel minor in the moment, but their cumulative effect over days, weeks, and years is far from small. Social media is another prime example of how the voice amplifies inner noise. You're scrolling through your feed, and instead of simply enjoying what you see, the voice begins to compare. "Look at them. They're so much further ahead than you. Why can't your life look like that?" This comparison triggers feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt, leaving you stuck in a loop of negative thoughts. The impact of this noise goes beyond emotions. It affects your physical body too. When the mind is constantly stressed or anxious, the body follows suit. Elevated cortisol levels, caused by chronic overthinking, can disrupt sleep, weaken your immune system, and increase the risk of long-term health issues like heart disease. What feels like a mental habit actually has far-reaching effects on your overall well-being. But perhaps the biggest cost of inner noise is how it steals the present moment. The voice creates a barrier between you and life itself, filtering your experiences through a lens of over-analysis and judgment. Instead of enjoying a simple walk, a shared laugh, or a quiet meal, you find yourself trapped in the stories the voice tells. Yet, the most profound realization is this: you don't have to live this way. When you begin to step back from the chatter, observing it instead of engaging, you create space for peace, clarity, and presence to return. The cost of inner noise is high, but the freedom from it, that's priceless. Silence is more than the absence of sound. It's a doorway to clarity and peace. When the endless stream of thoughts in your mind begins to quiet, something remarkable happens. You start to notice a calmness you didn't realize was there all along. This calm isn't forced or created, it's simply revealed when the mental chatter fades. The power of silence lies in what it allows. It gives space for clarity to emerge, for you to see things as they truly are without the filters of worry or judgment. In silence, you're not consumed by fears about the future or regrets about the past. Instead, you're fully present, aware of the moment as it unfolds. It's a state that feels simple but is deeply transformative. When you step into silence, your mind might initially resist. It's used to constant activity, labeling, analyzing, and trying to make sense of everything. The voice might even try to convince you that stopping is a waste of time. But as you sit with the silence, even for a few moments, you start to experience its depth. You notice how much lighter you feel when you're not tangled in thought after thought. This isn't about silencing your mind by force. That only makes the voice louder. Instead, it's about choosing not to engage with the noise. You let the thoughts come and go without holding onto them, like watching clouds drift across the sky. As you do this, the silence grows, and you begin to realize that peace doesn't come from controlling your thoughts. It comes from letting them pass without resistance. Silence also allows you to reconnect with your natural sense of intuition and wisdom. When the noise fades, you can tune into what truly matters. You might find clarity about a decision that's been weighing on you, or a new perspective on a problem you couldn't solve before. It's not that the answers suddenly appear, it's that they were always there, waiting beneath the mental clutter. Beyond clarity, silence also brings relief. So much of our mental energy is spent rethinking the same situations, revisiting old fears, or imagining worst-case scenarios. In silence, you're free from that cycle. You don't have to replay the past or predict the future. You can simply be here, now, where life is happening. This sense of presence has practical benefits too. It improves your focus, reduces stress, and strengthens your emotional resilience. When you're not caught up in constant mental noise, you're better equipped to handle challenges without feeling overwhelmed. You respond to situations with calm and clarity rather than reacting out of fear or frustration. Silence doesn't mean isolating yourself or shutting out the world. It's about finding stillness within, even in the midst of chaos. It's about noticing the quiet spaces between your thoughts and recognizing that those spaces are where your true self resides. The power of silence lies in its ability to ground you, to remind you that you are not your thoughts, and to give you the freedom to live with more ease and presence. When you stop talking to yourself, when you stop feeding the mental chatter, you step into this powerful silence. And in that silence, you begin to see life as it is, full of possibility, clarity, and peace. Once you realize you are not the voice in your head, everything changes. This understanding isn't just a passing thought, it's a foundation for a new way of living. Embracing this shift means stepping out of the patterns of constant mental chatter and into a state where you are present, calm, and truly connected to life. The first step to living beyond the voice is awareness. You begin to notice how often the mind pulls you into stories. It might bring up fears about the future or regrets from the past. It might replay conversations, amplify insecurities, or push you to compare yourself to others. But when you're aware, you can recognize these patterns for what they are, just thoughts, not reality. This awareness doesn't happen all at once. It's a practice. In the beginning, you might find yourself swept up in the voice before you even realize it. That's normal. The key is to gently bring your attention back to the present moment without frustration or judgment. Over time, this becomes easier, and you start to feel a growing sense of freedom from the voice's grip. Practical tools can help you stay anchored in this awareness. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful. It's the practice of focusing fully on what you're doing, whether it's washing dishes, walking, or simply breathing. When you're mindful, the voice in your head takes a back seat. Instead of analyzing or narrating every moment, you're fully experiencing it. Gratitude is another tool. When you focus on what you're thankful for, even the small things, a warm meal, a kind word, or a quiet moment, the voice loses its urgency. Gratitude shifts your attention away from what's missing and toward what's already present. This shift helps you break free from the voice's patterns of dissatisfaction and worry. Compassion is equally important, especially toward yourself. The voice in your head is often harsh, criticizing you for mistakes or setting impossible standards. But when you treat yourself with kindness, you stop feeding those critical thoughts. Imagine comforting a friend who's struggling. You'd speak to them gently with encouragement. Give yourself that same care. Living beyond the voice also means letting go of the need to control everything. The voice thrives on planning, analyzing, and trying to predict outcomes. While some level of planning is useful, overthinking can trap you in anxiety. Learning to trust the natural flow of life without needing to control every detail brings a sense of ease. This doesn't mean being passive. It means taking action when it's needed, but not obsessing over what's outside your control. A powerful way to embrace this shift is by connecting with nature. Spending time outdoors, feeling the breeze, listening to the birds, or watching the leaves move reminds you of a world beyond the voice. Nature doesn't analyze or judge, it simply exists. This simplicity can be deeply grounding, pulling you out of your thoughts and into the present. As you live beyond the voice, you might notice something surprising. You begin to see the world with fresh eyes. You appreciate the small moments, a stranger's smile, the way sunlight falls through a window, or the sound of laughter. These moments, once overshadowed by mental chatter, now shine with clarity and joy. Of course, the voice doesn't disappear entirely. It will still try to pull you back into old habits of worry and overthinking. But with practice, you'll notice it sooner and respond differently. Instead of believing every thought, you'll let them come and go, like leaves floating down a stream. You'll learn to pause, breathe, and refocus on what truly matters. This shift isn't about perfection. There will be days when the voice feels louder, and that's okay. What matters is that you've seen through the illusion. You know the voice isn't you, and that awareness is enough to keep moving forward. Each moment of silence, each act of presence, strengthens your connection to the deeper part of yourself, the part that exists beyond thought. Living beyond the voice means reclaiming your life. It means being fully present for the people and experiences that matter most. It means facing challenges with calm and clarity, rather than fear and doubt. It means finding joy not in what the voice says you need, but in what's already here. The voice may still whisper in the background, but it no longer defines you. You've stepped into a way of being that is simpler, freer, and more authentic. This is what it means to embrace the shift, to stop talking to yourself and finally start living. Who are you when the voice in your head quiets? This is a question that begins to unfold as you step beyond the constant chatter. Rediscovering your true self is not about finding something new. It's about returning to what has always been there, beneath the noise of your thoughts. When you stop identifying with the voice, you begin to experience life more directly. Think back to your childhood, before the layers of judgment, fear, and self-criticism took hold. There were moments when you were simply present, running, playing, or laughing without a care. In those moments, you weren't narrating your life or analyzing what you were doing. You were just being. This natural state of presence still exists within you. It's not lost, it's just buried beneath years of conditioning. The true self isn't tied to achievements, roles, or the opinions of others. It doesn't need validation or labels. It's the part of you that feels deeply alive, connected, and at peace. As you rediscover this self, you may notice a shift in how you experience the world. Life feels less like a race to prove yourself and more like an opportunity to simply be. Small, everyday moments take on a new significance. The taste of your morning coffee, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of a loved one's voice. These experiences become rich and full when you're present to them. The process of reconnecting with your true self often involves letting go of the need for external approval. The voice in your head thrives on comparisons and expectations, but your true self doesn't. It's not concerned with how you measure up to others. Instead, it's grounded in authenticity, allowing you to show up as you are, without pretense or fear. This doesn't mean challenges or negative emotions disappear. Difficulties are a natural part of life, but when you're connected to your true self, you face them with greater resilience. Instead of being swept away by the voice's stories about failure or inadequacy, you approach situations with clarity and calm. You recognize that your worth isn't determined by the outcome of any single moment, Rediscovering your true self is an ongoing practice. It's about learning to trust the stillness within you, even when the voice tries to pull you back into old habits. Over time, this connection deepens, and you begin to live from a place of presence rather than reactivity. The essence of your true self is simple. It's not something to achieve or create. It's something to remember. When you stop identifying with the voice, you allow your authentic self to emerge, and life becomes an expression of who you truly are. Living with stillness in a noisy world can feel like swimming against the current. From the moment you wake up, your phone buzzes, emails pile up, and countless notifications demand your attention. Modern life thrives on distraction, pulling you into a constant state of doing, thinking, and reacting. So, how do you protect your stillness in the middle of all this? The first step is recognizing that stillness doesn't mean escaping from the world. It's not about isolating yourself or avoiding responsibilities. Instead, it's about finding peace within the chaos. You don't have to eliminate noise completely. You just need to stop letting it control you. This begins by creating intentional boundaries. Start with simple changes. Set aside time each day to unplug from technology. Whether it's a few minutes in the morning or an hour in the evening, give yourself space to be present without external distractions. Turn off unnecessary notifications, leave your phone in another room, or take a walk without checking your messages. These moments, though small, help you reconnect with the stillness that exists beyond the noise. Another powerful practice is creating mindful rituals in your daily routine. This doesn't have to be complicated. Something as simple as taking a few deep breaths before starting your day, savoring your meals without distractions, or sitting quietly for a moment can ground you. These practices act as anchors, keeping you present no matter how busy life becomes. It's also important to be mindful of what you consume, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Social media, news, and entertainment can quickly become overwhelming if not balanced. Ask yourself, is what I'm consuming adding to my peace or taking it away? By choosing what you engage with carefully, you preserve your energy and protect your stillness. Finally, practice being fully present with the people around you. When you're with others, listen to them without letting your mind wander. Let go of the need to check your phone or think about what you'll say next. Presence is one of the most powerful ways to stay grounded, even in a world that constantly pulls you in different directions. Protecting your stillness doesn't mean avoiding life. It means engaging with it intentionally. By making small, deliberate choices, you create a space within yourself that remains calm and steady, no matter what's happening around you. The moment you stop talking to yourself is the moment you step into freedom. This isn't about silencing your thoughts or fighting the voice in your head. It's about understanding that you are not the voice. You are the presence behind it, the observer, the stillness that remains when the noise fades. This realization is the beginning of something profound. It's a shift from living reactively, dictated by thoughts and fears, to living intentionally, guided by clarity and presence. The freedom that comes with this shift isn't about perfection. The voice will still rise from time to time, and life will continue to bring its challenges. But now, you have the tools to navigate it all with calm and awareness. True freedom comes when you no longer feel trapped by the constant commentary of your mind. You begin to experience life as it is, unfiltered by judgment or fear. You connect more deeply with the present moment, with the people around you, and most importantly, with yourself. Every step you take in this stillness strengthens your ability to live authentically and respond to life with wisdom and compassion. This freedom is not something distant or unattainable. It's available to you right now. It begins the moment you pause, notice the voice, and choose not to engage. Each time you step back from the chatter, you reclaim your power and create space for the peace that's always been within you. So as you move forward, remember this. You don't need to fix yourself or become something different. The stillness you seek is already here, waiting for you to notice. When you stop talking to yourself, the shift happens and life becomes an expression of the freedom, clarity and joy that you've always carried inside. If this message resonated with you and gave you a new perspective, I'd love for you to be part of this journey. Hit the subscribe button to stay connected, and if you feel inspired, consider giving a super thanks to support the channel. Your presence here means so much. Thank you for watching and being part of this community.